Hi, I'm Fieldy and this is Dan. Welcome to the first episode of a three-part series about painting surfboards. Today we're going to be painting this surfboard and we're going to be using Belton Molotow premium paint. It's very good. Before we get started, it's really important that you prep your board properly before you start painting it. This one's already done, but check out the tutorial I prepared earlier for the full rundown on the process. With that said, I'm going to hand it over to Dan.
Okay, so this is going to be a super easy tutorial. I'm going to show you how to turn your surfboard into a cool retro fish design using a few stencil techniques and just some stuff I found around the garden. Okay, first step's the base coat, and don't forget safety first. Let's get into it. I'm changing over this blue dot to an X-ray fat for quicker coverage for the base coat. Always remember, shake your paint for at least a minute before you start painting. First off, I'm doing a tack coat, which is a light coat that helps the rest of the paint stick to the board a bit better. And it's really important to spray the right distance from the surface. I'd say about a can length would be right. Okay, we got the base coat down. Now it's time to do the tail. I'm using my garden rake as my stencil, and I'm going to hit it with a 3-colour fade. It's important to have cardboard to mask off and line it up along the stringer. Alright, let's start the 3-colour fade with the middle colour, Dare Orange. I'm going to swap over the stock blue dot for one of my personal favourites, New Yorker. Alright, I'm going to fade in this dark colour now. It's important not to go too close, so I'm just gently going to fade it from this angle. Like so. And now the light colour from the other end. Just gently mist the paint on. I'm just going to grab some good quality tape and mask out the shape of our fish. Now I'm going to fill in the body of the fish using my scale stencil. Make sure once again that you've got your stencil centered along the stringer. I'm going to hit it with a 3-colour fade once again. But this time, I'm going to throw in a little bit of Molotow transparent black. Can't go wrong. I'm going to base coat now, doing my first layer of the stencil. And it's really important not to flood the surface with too much paint. Don't get too close to the stencil, so I'm going to hit it with 2 lighter coats, or 3 lighter coats. Now we've got our light orange down. I'm going to work in some of these darker colours. I've cut out some blockers that will help mask the rest of the scales, and it can help to have a friend to hold these down for you and just give you a hand with this. I'm going to work with the next darkest orange from the pointy end of the scales, leaving a bit of our light orange showing, and then I'm going to do the same with the red, leaving some of this orange showing, and lastly just a bit of transparent black to help give it a bit more depth and bring it out nicely. Alright, so we've got 2/3 to 3/4 of the scales painted in, and I'm going to stop now because I need to work out where the head's going to be painted in. And I think to keep it in proportion, probably about 1/4 of the way down your board. And then we'll have this fin coming out, which is going to be the rake stencil again. And we're going to paint it exactly as we painted the tail with a 3-colour fade from light to dark. Okay, so we painted the fin in and let it dry. Now I've painted the same rake stencil onto this piece of card to create a blocker, and I've cut it in the shape of the fin that I want. Next, you just want to run the stencil of the scales, match that up, and I want that to run all the way up to the end of the fin, and then we can paint the head in over the top of the scales. Okay, so the scales are all done, the fin's done. I've cut this mask that I'm going to place just over this end of the fin, just enough to cover the last couple of millimeters. And now I'm ready to paint the head. I'm going to go light to dark fades, heading this way. Alright, I've painted the 3-colour fade for the head. Now I'm just going to add a little pizzazz with dark Riviera, another great colour. While I've got the dark Riviera, I'm just going to put a few highlights in the scales while the head's drying. Now I'm going to paint a few little details in, keeping it really simple and minimal. This is going to be the mouth, then we'll follow with the eye. So now we've got the mouth in, we're going to paint the eye. Base coat in the light orange, which we used in the scales, and then paint the pupil in black over the top of that once that's dried. Okay, I'm just going to fade a little bit of this dark orange in, so I can't resist. So the eye's dry, and now I'm using the shape that I cut out of our original stencil to make the pupil, because that allows me to get it centered. And then I've cut another stencil slightly smaller than the outside circle on the eye, so we're using that as our mask. Alright, so the board's looking great. We've finished all the stages of spraying. There's one last step, which will be to add a few highlights and motion lines. I'm going to use this Molotow 20mm marker, but this is an optional step, so if you're going to try it, make sure you do a few practice runs to get your confidence up, and check out the next tutorial from Fieldy on how to use a Molotow marker. Alright, board's complete, it's looking good. Last thing to do before you take it in the water is give it a good few coats of clear coat, just to make sure everything's protected. And I definitely recommend using Molotow, because you want to keep the brand of the paint and the coating the same, so you know it's compatible. Hope you enjoyed it, and see you later.